Donald Trump's legal team filed a brief with the United States Supreme Court this past week where they accidentally argued, based on their language, that Donald Trump was never actually the president of the United States. Now, that seems like a very weird thing to say, right? And they didn't say he was never president, but they did say that he was never an officer of the United States, and therefore, the 14th Amendment cannot apply to him, and therefore, you cannot kick him off the ballot in any of these states. Ha ha ha! We're so smart, right? Here is what they said in their brief. The court should reverse the Colorado decision because President Trump is not even subject to Section 3, as the president is not a, quote, officer of the United States under the Constitution. And then they added that even if he was, it said, and even if President Trump were subject to Section 3, he did not engage in anything that qualifies as an insurrection. The court should reverse on these grounds and end these unconstitutional disqualification efforts once and for all. So Trump is not an officer of the United States, they say. You can't apply Section 3 because it says officers of the United States. If Trump's lawyers were worth a damn, they would know that the United States Supreme Court in 1982, and by the way, it took me like 6 seconds to find this information, the case of Nixon versus Fitzgerald, 457 U.S. 731, 1982. The United States Supreme Court ruled that the President of the United States is in fact an officer of the United States. Specifically, the President is the chief constitutional officer of the executive branch. But by definition, the Supreme Court said in 1982, the President is an officer of the United States. So if we take that Supreme Court precedent saying the President is an officer, and Trump's lawyers are saying he was never an officer, that would mean Trump was never president of the United States. Now, that argument's probably not going to fly with the Supreme Court. Again, we do have a little bit of legal precedent here. But you know who could use this argument against him? Not necessarily in the 14th Amendment case, but in the immunity case the Supreme Court's going to hear? Jack Smith. Because you guys are effectively arguing that Donald Trump wasn't actually president. He wasn't an officer of the United States. Oh, well, in that case, he's not entitled to immunity, you dumbasses. That's what you're arguing. Granted, it's not the same case, but you have now filed this in court. You are stating on the record, Trump was not an officer. How stupid can you be? That will be used against you when you go to the Supreme Court and say, hey, he was entitled to full immunity. Jack Smith can be like, wait a minute, didn't you just say right here, didn't you tell these people up here that he wasn't an officer of the United States? They say the president's an officer, you say he wasn't even an officer, so how could he be given immunity if he wasn't an officer of the United States? So either you're going to definitely lose that case, or you're going to lose this case. You can't have it both ways. Like, what is your problem? How are you so dumb? Now, shockingly, of course, Alina Habba's not on this legal team. You would think with their horrific arguments that she would be. But look, if we're talking about just arguing the merits of the case, Trump's team loses. Because the Colorado Supreme Court already explained how Trump supported an insurrection. He supported it, they said, by not stopping it when he had the authority to do it. He had the time to do it, and he didn't. Thereby, it is his tacit endorsement of it. The testimony of people from the White House at the time who all said Trump seemed to be enjoying it, that is what constitutes supporting it. So you're arguing like even if he did, he didn't support it. The court already made clear how he supported it. And now you're trying to argue that, well, he wasn't technically an officer. Supreme Court says the president is an officer. So if Trump were not an officer, then Trump wasn't the president of the United States, which again goes back to the other case, which means he is not entitled to immunity. Oh boy, we're in for a fun February when these cases go in front of that Supreme Court, because Donald Trump's lawyers have no clue what they're even arguing. Hi everyone, this here is little Athena, and Athena would like to know why you haven't subscribed to Fair and Balanced yet, so please don't let Athena down. Subscribe today.